Verbal coercion is not the same as rape. This morning, one of my professors linked me to the following article, https://www.appnews.com/AA50902808F8A4178B2AA63CBC6DFF965. It suggests that the first sexual experience for every 1 in 16 women was forced or coerced intercourse. This is obviously something that is very awful, except that this fact was determined by a survey where lies could be prevalent. It also includes verbal coercion as a form of rape, meaning that even if a woman consents to have sex with a man, she can still be raped if she felt she was verbally coaxed into doing so. To me, this is absolute horseshit. Is verbal coercion gross? Yes. Should we persuade men against doing so? Yes. Is it rape? Absolutely not. It is not up to a man to know exactly what a woman is thinking. It is a woman's duty to be upfront and honest. If she says yes, the man has no obligation to stop having sex with her every 5 minutes and ask if she is still willing. The woman has a responsibility, for herself, to speak up and say that she feels like she is being coerced into something, and that they should stop. If she doesn't, the man has no indication that what he is doing is wrong. Although at a lesser degree, I think we can take away the same lesson from the Louis C.K. situation. He offered to jerk off in front of 2 women, who said yes and did not once speak up and express their discomfort. At any time, they could have left the room, but they willing chose not to. Yes, the power dynamic is concerning, but the women still consented to what they saw. They just as easily could have said no, but they instead chose to say yes and remain quiet, giving Louis no indication that what he was doing was wrong or that they felt coerced into doing so. If we want women to look out for themselves, we have to stop pandering to them and give them some responsibility in these situations. If the roles were reversed, no one would bat an eye. They would tell the man that he had all the power in the situation and at any time could have spoken up. I think it depends on what you mean by verbal coercion. If you mean, "Come on, let's have sex." "Nah, I don't feel like it." "Aw, come on, it's my birthday." "Yeah, okay, fine." Then that's not rape. It is wrong to pester or bother someone into sex like that, but it's not rape, in my opinion, because the person is free to refuse. However, if someone says, "If you don't agree to sleep with me, I'll beat you up," that's totally different. That is rape, because even though no force is actually used, the threat of force is used, which means the person is not free to refuse sex, so it depends on the type of verbal coercion being used. I agree, but this is probably unpopular. If a guy pressures a girl into having sex and she doesn't want to, then she has to let him know by saying no. It's like the Aziz Ansari situation. Non-verbal cues don't mean shit. Men aren't mind readers. You have to actually say no so he knows what's happening. Having your defenses worn down through begging and badgering shouldn't be illegal. Believing someone when they say "suck this" or "I'll beat the shit out of your little brother" isn't the same as a million pretty pleases. Coercion through threats creates a pretty significant imbalance of power. This is a really difficult topic, and I like to say that, contrary to some, it's not easy and clear what consent means, especially concerning coercion, explicitly without threats, violence, or stuff like that. Say person A is in the mood and person B isn't. Is it rape if B disagrees to intercourse first, but agrees later, after some persuasion? I'd go so far and say that trying to persuade someone to have sex with you, if you want to have sex, isn't in itself morally questionable, if sex is a viable option and no threats and stuff is involved. I'd like to compare it to having a cup of tea. You should drink a cup of tea together with someone who actually wants a cup of tea, but is it a bad thing if you really like tea and ask someone to join you, and if they at first don't want to, you try to persuade them? Pretty please, we can make the fruity tea you like and I'll add an extra spoon of sugar. I'd like to have a cup of tea with you so much. It's okay until you do something clearly not okay, like threatening to use force or something. So it's not okay to say drink this cup of tea or I will punch you. Obviously, I don't think it's any different for sex and sexual actions. It's okay to persuade someone to have tea/sex as long as the persuasion in itself is still okay. You are alone at a bus stop or the commuter rail station at night waiting for your bus/train and a very large man keeps following you around asking you for $1. He hasn't shown you a gun or any sign of a weapon, but he is in your face asking you for money, telling you that he's starving and it would only take $1 to let him get something from the vending machine. You say I don't have any on me. Sorry. He says I'm sure you have $1, check your wallet. You say man, I'm tapped out. He says look at your clothes and briefcase, you have to have some money on you. You tell him I don't. I only have my card. At this point you worry you said too much and look around for any security guards, but none are in visible sight. He tells you that's okay, there's an ATM right over there and the train's not coming for another 5 minutes. You are faced with 5 minutes of dealing with this creepily aggressive person trying to get you to go to the ATM for a $20, digging through your pockets for a quarter, or saying back off buddy. What do? He hasn't broken any laws. He's just poor, possibly a drug addict, and annoying. As you debate what to say, he whips out the veteran card, putting in a position where you are withholding a quarter from someone who's been to war and came home unable to get a job. What will he say when you deny him the quarter? Will he take it and walk off? Will he go nuts on you and rob you? Now, imagine instead it's someone you love, you're alone in the dark, and you've been putting him off for months and he's getting impatient. He might possibly hurt you, you don't know because you've never had him say mean things to you before. What do? It's really not as simple as you make it. It also includes verbal coercion as a form of rape, meaning that even if a woman consents to have sex with a man, she can still be raped if she felt she was verbally coaxed into doing so. Wow, seriously. I'm female and that seems extreme. Is it an actual legal definition? I'm a different generation. We called this situation taking advantage. It was usually the line that always worked, especially on a girl who was inexperienced. You'd do it if you loved me. It was scummy, but not criminal. Now I think verbal coercion can be construed as part of rape if a guy says do it or I'll kill you, or even do it or I'll send these photos I took of you to Facebook and tell the whole world what a slut you are. In the latter case, I'd also add extortion to the charge. But if a girl gives in because the guy lies, manipulates, or just straight up won't stop whining about it, that's different. Another problem here is the word coercion seems to have been completely debased by many feminists. It's supposed to mean threats or violence. Persuading someone is not coercive. Well, if I force someone to say yes, did they really consent? The yes they give isn't really consent. For example, if a police officer asks for sex with someone in a prison cell, there's an implication, think Always Sunny in Philadelphia, that they'll be hurt if they say no, hence it's still rape. The majority of the people being downvoted in this thread are women. Regardless of how we're defining things, if women are saying that this is a problem, even if you don't understand it, why wouldn't you listen? You might not understand why a woman is too afraid to run out screaming or tell someone to fuck off, but since you're being told that that's a common feeling and issue, why wouldn't you take that into account moving forward? Yeah, I totally agree. As a guy, I've definitely been in situations with ex-GFs in which they were in the mood, and I was not. I have 100% been coerced into having sex in some of these situations. I was absolutely not raped. It's nowhere close to the same thing. That's true, not all verbal coercion is rape in that not all of it results in sexual acts, and not all rape involves verbal coercion. Men know what a soft no looks like. https://yesmeansize blog. WordPress.com/2011/03/21/ myth communication. It's not that they don't understand, they just don't like the answer / Even if a woman consents to have sex with a man, she can still be raped if she felt she was verbally coaxed into doing so. As a woman, I'm really offended by that. Disagree. Coercion is defined as the practice of persuading someone to do something by using force or threats. Yes, using force or threats is rape. Agreed, it just suggests women are too stupid to know what they're doing even if they consent. Her next morning regrets do not turn her consent into rape. The coercion element to rape was intended to address things like physical threats and blackmail, not asking repeatedly. Verbal coercion is just feminist concept creep attempting to demonize and criminalize any form of male sexuality. Problem is establishing that it was coerced. Now in some cases it might be provable, in most, probably not. Unless there is a video recording of the event, all the testimonies are fundamentally hearsay. This argument would not work too well in a criminal court where you have to prove beyond reasonable doubt that a person is guilty. Of course, depends a lot on the situation and how much actual evidence there is. At best, this line of argument might work in civil courts, damages compensation, as the burden is much smaller for the plaintiff, or simply because the defendant might just settle even if he's innocent. I think it depends on the situation. Emotional manipulation and blackmail? Yes, rape. Repeated asking but not forcing? No, not rape, just peer pressure. Well, you've managed to gloss right over the rotten core of rape as an action, which is that it's about power. You seem to think this is just a side issue instead of the entire goddamn thing. These are dynamics where one person has power over another and uses that power to coerce. Louis C.K., a very successful person in his field, whipping his dick out in front of not yet successful women is an abuse of his position of power, and it's an affront to someone else's dignity and security. Your assumptions about consent sound pretty misguided, and it's important for you to think critically but also pay close attention to what other people have to say about the topic. It is not pandering to acknowledge a systemic problem of harassment, violence, and injustice. This is the kind of right-wing apologist deflection that is making the world worse instead of better. Do not go down that road. Huge disagree on this one. Coercion is still rape, regardless of whether force was used or not. Women can make it very obvious they are not interested, but their partner will guilt them into it, telling them that if they loved them, they'd do it, that they can't back out now because it's unfair, etc. I'm a survivor of rape by coercion, and I won't have anyone tell me that what I went through was something other than rape. I said no, multiple times. My body language clearly screamed that I wasn't interested. Yet I found myself lying back on the bed allowing this guy to have his way with me multiple times because I was too scared to fight back. My rapist used no physical force against me, but I was still raped. Well, it depends on what verbal coercion mean. If it's threats of violence to the victim or their family, then it's definitely rape. If it's threatening of leaving relationship, talking about being prude or badgering about it all the time, then it's not.